Now, in this session, I am going to discuss about the tips for teachers, followed by the topic fertilization, post-fertilization, endosperm and embryo, seed, apomixis, polyembryony, parthenocarpy and its significance. Now let's move on to the tips for teachers. In the textbook you would have seen English Tamil terminology that represents Tamil technology for botanical terms given for easy understanding. References, list of related books for further details of the topic. Web links, list of digital resources. Competitive exams questions, it is mainly for the students, modern questions to face various competitive exams. Now let us move on to the topic fertilization. The fusion of male and female gametes is called fertilization. Fertilization in angiosperms is double fertilization type. Events of fertilization is as follows. It involves in double fertilization or germination of pollen to form pollen tube in the stigma, growth of pollen tube in the style, direction of pollen tube towards the micropyle of the ovule, entry of the pollen tube into one of the synergids of the embryo sac, discharge of male gametes, syngamy and triple fusion. The events from pollen deposition on the stigma to the entry of pollen tube in the ovule is called pollen pistil interaction. It is a dynamic process which involves recognition of pollen and to promote or inhibits its germination and growth. Now you can see in this picture the fertilization process. The next step is, in nature, a variety of pollens falls on the receptive stigma, but all of them do not germinate and bring out fertilization. The receptive surface of the stigma receives the pollen. If the pollen is compatible with the stigma, it germinates to form a tube. This is facilitated by the stigmatic fluid in wet stigma and pellicle in dry stigma. These two also design the incompatibility and compatibility of the pollen through recognition, rejection, protein reaction between the pollen and stigma surface. Sexual incompatibility may exist between different species that we call it as interspecific, or between members of the same species intraspecific. The first visible change in the pollen soon after it lands on stigma is hydration. The pollen wall proteins are released from the surface. During the germination of pollen, its entire content moves into the pollen tube. The growth is restricted to the tip of the tube and all the cytoplasmic contents move to the tip region. The remaining part of the pollen tube is occupied by a vacuole which is cut off from the tip by callose plug. The extreme tip of the pollen tube appears hemispherical and transparent when viewed through the microscope. This is called cap block. As soon as the cap block disappears, the growth of the pollen tube stops. Pollen tube in the style. After the germination, the pollen tube enters into the style from the stigma. The growth of the pollen tube in the style depends on the type of style. Hollow style, open style. It is common among monocots. A hollow canal running from the stigma to the base of the style is present. The canal is lined by a single layer of glandular canal cells that we call it as transmitting tissue. They secrete mucilaginous substances. The pollen tube grows on the surface of the cells lining the stylar canal. The canal is filled with secretions which serve as nutrition for growing pollen tubes and also controlling incompatibility reaction between the style and pollen tube. The secretions contain carbohydrates, lipids and some enzymes like esterases, acid phosphatases as well as compatibility controlling proteins. Solid style is the next type. It is of closed type. It is common among dicots. It is characterized by the presence of central core of elongated, highly specialized cells called transmitting tissue. This is equivalent to the lining cells of holostyle and does the same function. Its contents are also similar to the content of those cells. The pollen tube grows through the intercellular spaces of the transmitting tissue. Here we can see the types of style, that is the semi-solid style, half-closed type. This is intermediate between solid and open type. There is a difference of opinion on the nature of transmitting tissue. Some authors consider that it is found only in solid styles, while others consider the lining cells of the hollow style also has transmitting tissue. Entry of pollen tube into the ovule is depicted in the picture. There we have three types. The first one is the porogamy, when the pollen tube enters through the micropyle. The second one, chalazogamy, when the pollen tube enters through the chalaza. The third type, that is the mesogamy, when the pollen tube enters through the integument. The entry of pollen tube into embryo sac. Irrespective of the place of the entry of the pollen tube into ovule, it enters the embryo sac at the micropylar end. The pollen enters into the embryo sac directly into one of the synergids. The growth of the pollen tube towards the ovary, ovule and embryo sac is due to the presence of chemotropic substances. The pollen tube, after traveling the whole length of the style, enters into the ovary locule, where it is guided towards the micropyle of the ovule by a structure called obturator. After reaching the embryo sac, a pore is formed in pollen tube wall at its apex or just behind the apex. The content of the pollen tube, two male gametes, vegetative nucleus, and cytoplasm are discharged into the synergids into which pollen tube enters. The pollen tube does not grow beyond it in the embryo sac. The tube nucleus disorganizes. The next one is the important step, that is the double fertilization and triple fusion. G. Navashin and L. Gignard in 1898 and 1899 observed in Lilium and Fritillaria that both the male gametes released from a male gametophyte are involved in the fertilization. They fertilize two different components of the embryo sac. Since both the male gametes are involved in fertilization, the phenomenon is called double fertilization and it is unique to angiosperms. One of the male gametes fuse with the egg nucleus, syngamy, to form zygote. The second gamete migrates to the central cell where it fuses with the polar nuclei or the fusion product, the secondary nucleus, and forms the primary endosperm nucleus. Since this involves the fusion of three nuclei, this phenomenon is called triple fusion. This act results in endosperm formation, which forms the nutritive tissue for the embryo. So it is very clearly shown in the picture, the double fertilization as well as the triple fusion. The next one is the post-fertilization structure and events. So here, after fertilization, several changes takes place in the floral parts up to the formation of the seed. The events after fertilization are endosperm, embryo development, formation of seed, fruits. They are known as the post-fertilization changes. So here in this picture, you can see to the post-fertilization events, as well as in that tabular form, you can see the parts before fertilization, transformation after fertilization. The next one, we can move on to the endosperm. The primary endosperm nucleus divides immediately after fertilization, but before the zygote starts to divide into an endosperm. The primary endosperm nucleus is the result of triple fusion, two polar nuclei and one sperm nucleus, and thus has 3n number of chromosomes. It is a nutritive tissue and regulatory structure that nourishes the developing embryo. Nuclear endosperm. In this nuclear type, the primary endosperm nucleus divides into two without any wall formation. The subsequent division of these two nuclei or free nuclei so that the endosperm consists of only free nuclei and cytoplasm around them. The nuclei may either remain free or may become separate by walls in later stages. Some of the examples are Coccina, Capsula and Arachis. The next one, we can move on to the types of endosperm. There are cellular endosperm. In this type, the primary endosperm nucleus divides into a nuclei which are immediately followed by a wall formation. Subsequent divisions are also followed by walls. Examples Adoxa, Helianthus and Scoparia. Helobial endosperm. In helobial type, the primary endosperm nucleus moves towards the base of the embryo sac where it divides into two nuclei. These two nuclei are separated by a wall to form a large micropylar chamber and a small chalazal chamber. The nucleus of the micropylar chamber undergoes several free nuclear divisions, whereas that of the chalazal chamber may or may not divide. Some of the examples are Hydrilla and Vallisneria. The endosperms may either be completely consumed by the developing embryo or it may persist into the mature seeds. Those seeds without endosperms are called non-endospermous or ex-albuminous seeds. Examples are pea, groundnut and beans. Those seeds with endosperms are called endospermous or albuminous seeds. The endosperms in the seeds supply nutrition to the embryo during seed germination. Example paddy, coconut and castor. The next we will move on to the types of endosperm. Under that, ruminate endosperm. The endosperm with irregularity and unevenness in its surface forms ruminate endosperm. Example are Areca catechu. The activity of seed coat or the endosperm itself results in this type of endosperm. The unequal radial elongation of the layer of seed coat results in the rumination of endosperm in Passiflora. In Anonaceae and Aristolochiaceae, definite ingrowth or infolding of the seed coat produces ruminate endosperm. The irregular surface of the seed coat makes endosperm ruminate in Mystica. Functions of endosperm. It is the nutritive tissue for the developing embryo. In majority of angiosperms, the zygote divides only after the development of endosperm. Endosperm regulates the precise mode of embryo development. The next important step is the endosperm haustoria. Another interesting feature of the endosperm is the presence of haustoria. In the case of helobial endosperm, the chalazal chamber itself acts as haustorial structure. In cellular and nuclear endosperm, special structures are produced towards the micropylar, chalazal, both the micropylar and chalazal, which may be in lateral direction depending on the species. These absorb nutrients from other outer tissue or from ovary tissue and supply them to the growing embryo. Embryogenesis, development of dicot embryo. The development of dicot embryo, Capsella bursa pastoris, is of anagard or crucifer type. The embryo develops at micropylar end of embryo sac. The zygote divides by a transverse division, forming upper or terminal cell and lower or basal cell. The basal divides transversely and the terminal cell divides vertically to form a four-celled proembryo. The next one is the development of dicot embryo. A second vertical division, right angle to the first one, takes place in terminal cell, forming a four-cell stage that we call as quadrant. A transverse division in the quadrant results in a 8-cell cells that we call it as the octant stage. The upper tier of the 4 cells of the octant is called epibasal or anterior octant, and the lower tier of the 4 cells constitute hypobasal or posterior octants. A periclinal division in the octants results in the formation of 16 cells, later on 8 cells in the outer and 8 in the inner. The outer 8 cells represent the dermatogen and undergoes anticlinal division to produce epidermis. The inner 8 cells divide by vertical and transverse division to form outer layer of peribellum, which gives rise to cortex, and a central region of pleurome, which forms stele. During the development, the 2 cells of the basal cell undergo several transverse division to form 6 or 10-celled suspensor. The next one, we are moving on to the development of dicot embryo. The embryo at this stage become globular, and the suspensor helps to push the embryo deep into the endosperm. The uppermost cell of the suspensor enlarged to form the haustorium. The lowermost cells of the suspensor is called hypophysis. A transverse division and 2 vertical division right angle to each other of hypophysis results in the formation of 8 cells. The 8 cells are arranged in 2 tiers of 4 cells. Each, the upper tier, give rise to the root cap and epidermis. At this stage, embryo proper appears heart-shaped cell divisions in the hypocotyl, and the cotyledon regions of the embryo proper results in elongation. This you can see in this diagram. The dicot embryo, further the development results in curved horseshoe-shaped embryo in the embryo sac. The mature embryo has a radicle, 2 cotyledons and a plumule. The next one, we are moving on to the seed. The fertilized ovule is called seed and possesses an embryo, endosperm and a protective coat. Seeds may be endospermous, that is in wheat, maize, barley and sunflower, or non-endospermous, bean, mango, orchids and cucurbits. Structure of Caesar seed is an example for dicot seed. The mature seeds are attached to the fruit wall by a stalk called funiculus. The funiculus disappears, leaving a scar called hilum. Below the hilum, a small pore called micropyle is present. It facilitates entry of oxygen and water into the seed during germination. Each seed has a thick outer covering called seed coat. The seed coat is developed from integuments of the ovule. The outer coat is called testa and it is hard, whereas the inner coat is thin, membranous, and it's called tegmen. In pea plant, the tegmen and testa are fused. Now we can see the dicot seed in the picture. 2 cotyledons laterally attached to the embryonic axis are present. It stores the food materials in pea, whereas in other seeds like castor, the endosperm contains reserve food and the cotyledons are thin. The portion of embryonal axis projecting beyond the cotyledons is called radicle or embryonic root. The other end of the axis called embryonic shoot is the plumule. Embryonal axis above the level of cotyledon is called epicotyle, whereas the cylindrical region between the level of cotyledon is called hypocotyle. The epicotyle terminates in plumule, whereas the hypocotyle ends in radicle. The next one, we are moving on the structure of Oryza seed, that is an example of monocot seed. The seed of paddy is one-seeded and it is called caryopsis. Each seed remains enclosed by a brownish husk which consists of glumes arranged in 2 rows. The seed coat is a brownish, membranous layer closely adhered to the grain. Endosperm forms the bulk of the grain and it's the storage tissue. It is separated from embryo by a definite layer called epithelium. The embryo is small and consists of one shield-shaped cotyledon known as scutellum, present towards lateral side of the embryonal axis. A short axis with plumule and radicle protected by the root cap is present. The plumule is surrounded by a protective sheath called coleoptile. The radicle, including root cap, is also covered by a protective sheath called coelorhiza. The scutellum supplies the growing embryo with food material absorbed from the endosperm with the help of the epithelium. The next one, we are moving on to the structure of the Oryza seed in the picture, where you can see the fruit caryopsis entire. Then the LS of fruit is been showing having the parts of the endosperm, scutellum, coleoptile, shoot apex, radicle, root cap, coelorhiza. The plumule is surrounded by a protective sheath called coleoptile. The radicle, including the root cap, is also covered by a protective sheath called coelorhiza. The scutellum supplies the growing embryo with food material absorbed from the endosperm with the help of the epithelium. The next one, we are moving to the topic apomixis. Reproduction involving fertilization in flowering plants is called amphimixis, and wherever reproduction does not involve union of male and female gametes is called apomixis. The term apomixis was introduced by Winkler in the year 1908. It is defined as the substitution of the usual sexual system, amphimixis, by a form of reproduction which does not involve meiosis and syngamy. Maheshwari, Indian scientist, 1950, classified apomixis into two types, recurrent and non-recurrent. Recurrent apomixis, it includes vegetative reproduction and agamospermy. Non-recurrent apomixis or haploid embryo sac developed after meiosis develops into an embryo without fertilization. You can see the flow chart for further observation. Vegetative reproduction or plant propagate by any part other than seeds. Examples for bulbils, Fritillaria imperialis, bulbs, allium, Runda mentha arvensis, sucker, it is the chrysanthemum. The next one is the agamospermy. So it refers to the process by which embryo sac are formed by eliminating meiosis and syngamy. What is adventive embryony? An embryo arises directly from diploid sporophytic cells either from nucellus or integument. It is also called sporophytic budding because gametophytic phase is completely absent. Adventive embryos are found in citrus and mangifera. Diplospory, generative apospory. A diploid embryo sac is formed from megaspore mother cell without a regular meiotic division. Example, Eupatorium and Airva. Apospory. Megaspore mother cell undergoes the normal meiosis and 4 megaspores form gradually disappear. A new cellular cell becomes activated and develops into a diploid embryo sac. This type of apospory is called somatic apospory, that you find it in Hieracium and Parthenium. The next one is about the polyembryony. Occurrence of more than one embryo in a seed is called polyembryony. The first case of the polyembryony was reported in certain oranges by Anton von Leeuwenhoek in the year 1719. Polyembryony is divided into 4 categories based on its origin. Cleavage polyembryony, example is orchids. Formation of embryo by cells of the embryo sac other than eggs, synergids, that is Aristolochia, antipodals, ulmus and endosperm, balanophora. Development of more than one embryo sac within the same ovule. Derivatives of 2 or more in the case of Casuarina. Activation of some sporophytic cells of the ovule, nucellus, integument, citrus and Syzygium. Practical applications are seedlings formed from the nucellar tissue in citrus or found better clones for orchids. Embryos derived through polyembryony are found virus-free. The last one is about the parthenocarpy. The ovary becomes the fruit and the ovule becomes the seed after fertilization. However, in number of cases, fruit-like structures may develop from the ovary without the act of fertilization. Such fruits are called parthenocarpic fruits. Invariably, they will not have true seeds. Many commercial fruits are more seedless. Example, banana, grapes and papaya. Nitsch in 1963 classified the parthenocarpy into the following types. Genetic parthenocarpy. It arises due to the hybridization or mutation. Example are citrus, cucurbita. Environmental parthenocarpy or conditions like frost, fog, low temperature, high temperature include parthenocarpy. For example, low temperatures for 3 to 19 hours induces parthenocarpy in pear. A chemically induced parthenocarpy is application of growth promoting substances like auxins and gibberellins induces parthenocarpy. Next, we can move on to the significance of the Parthenocarpi. The seedless fruits have great significance in horticulture. The seedless fruit have great commercial importance. Seedless fruits are useful for the preparation of jams, jellies, sauces, fruit drinks, etc. High proportion of edible part is available in parthenocarpic fruits due to the absence of seeds. So this one is the reproduction in plants summary. So here you can see the entire picture of the reproduction in plants. The last is the thank you. Hope you all understood about the fertilization as well as the final significance of the Parthenocarpi.